Hello guys, and I want to remind you that the most important things for the end of the Russian war in Ukraine take place on the front lines. We all know that any agreement signed with Russia is not worth the paper on which it was signed. So the only way to achieve real, lasting peace in Ukraine, Europe, and the world is to defeat and demilitarize Russia. And of course, to punish the Kremlin for all the war crimes and international law violations. And that is why, when many of us were watching these truly explosive conversations in the White House, which were supposed to humiliate President Zelensky, but in reality backfired and humiliated the authors of this pretty staged show, the Ukrainian armed forces kept working and actually destroyed a huge arsenal of the Russian army on the temporarily occupied territories of Donetsk region and also neutralized a group of occupants police in Mariupol. Let's never forget about people who now live under Russian occupation, because it is a real danger and a real torture. And only when we liberate the country, when we return Ukrainian children from Russian truly captivity and this cultural genocide, we may start talking with the next government that will appear in Russia after the collapse of Putin. So let's discuss these important steps on the way to defeat and demilitarize Russia. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you feel that you support my country, demonstrate your solidarity and subscribe to the channel. And it's quite useful to learn our experience taking into account the turbulence of the modern times. You know, I feel the need to speak more about reality because somehow with these distorted messages coming from the White House, I still need to remind you that Russia is an aggressor and Ukraine defends its territories. And the majority of combat operations actually take place on Ukrainian territories. And a great victory took place just yesterday when Trump was humiliating Zelensky together with Vance. Ukrainian armed forces were humiliating Russian arsenals. And they were more successful than the temporary representatives of the White House. So, Russians use these territories of Donetsk, Luhansk, Crimea as a platform for attacks. And it was a huge mistake to pretend that escalation management works, that appeasement works, and to agree on anything with Russia back in 2014, back in 2015. Actually, this is an important fact. I want you to remember that in 2016, we had something like a ceasefire, and during that ceasefire with Russia, more than 500 of Ukrainian civilians were killed by Russia. So, of course, any peace deal, any ceasefire is impossible without the defeat of Russia and serious prosecution of Putin and the gang responsible for all that matters and all that crimes on the territory of Ukraine, on the territory of Georgia, on the territory of Moldova, on the territory of Chechnya. Aren't you surprised how many countries actually suffer from Russia? And I do have this feeling that right now America is one of them. So by defeating them in Ukraine, we actually defeat them globally. And I do have a feeling that more and more leaders who still care about democracy feel this is true and feel it's time to support the brave people of Ukraine and not humiliate them, not mock them. So, a huge arsenal was destroyed in the Donetsk region. It was strategically important for the Russian invaders because it's close to the front lines, and it took them more than a month to collect all the weapons, explosives they needed. Ukrainian intelligence was carefully and patiently observing, and when they decided that they have completed the storage and they are prepared to use it, well, Ukrainian drones set it all ablaze. Detonations continued and a lot of innocent lives saved. Once again, if you care about people, if you care about Ukraine, if you care about safety on this planet, you have to support Ukraine. It's definitely not my country that can be responsible for the world war. Unpunished evil grows. We saw that back in 2014. 2014, appeasement, green light to Putin, is a reason for 2022. Appeasement of him in 2025 will be a reason for his attack on Baltics, Poland, and trust me, Trump will not try to stop it. He will say, well, who knows, blah, blah, and so on, let's attack Canada. So we are here responsible nations, responsible leaders standing against this bullying, standing against this evil. Unfortunately, the only way to end the war is to defeat and demilitarize Russia. Maybe fortunately. Subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity, and please share more of these videos on your social media platforms. So please remember that on all that occupied territories, there are a lot of people who want to be liberated. These people suffer greatly. Sometimes they are mobilized forcibly to Russian army. They do have arguments how to push these people, either torture or, for example, the danger that their children will be taken away from them. They can lose their parents' rights. Anything is possible. And still, many of these people join resilience movements. They are quite active. And for example, those people in Mariupol resilience reported the neutralization of a group of occupants in Mariupol. For me, Mariupol is a symbol of Russian violence, of this true crime that happened, unfortunately, online. You saw it all happening. You witnessed how they bombed, for example, a Mariupol drama theater with a huge inscription on its roof, children. This is all Russia. This is how they treat not just Ukrainians. This is how they treat the world. They don't care about the lives of their own soldiers. So how do you think they will care about you? And of course, if we leave such things unpunished, if we accept that it is normal to treat any nation, any people like that, we are in great trouble. But I'm really happy and I'm proud that neither Ukrainian leadership, nor Ukrainian civil society, nor Ukrainian army will ever allow that to happen. And that is why Donald Trump was so angry, because he does not have any instruments to influence Putin. He wanted to push Ukraine. He is much stronger and braver, you know, with Greenland, with Ukraine, with Canada. I did not see him stand up against Russia or China. He's just like super satisfied with the dictators and very irritated with the democratic leaders. But I'm sure this will not bring him success and like cool legacy in American history. And our task is quite clear, to keep defeating and demilitarizing Russia, liberating Ukrainian territories, returning Ukrainian children, and demonstrating the world that you should stand up against the bullies. That's the only way to survive and to live a decent life, which is also important. I don't know if you have noticed, but during that conversation in the White House, they were not speaking about truly important things like freedom, you know, like human dignity. They were only talking about cards and deals. That is disgusting. Please share these videos to remind others that the best way to achieve peace, to end Russian war in Ukraine, is to defeat and demilitarize the agonizing, poor Russian Empire, which GDP is 10 times smaller than the one of the European Union, which GDP is way smaller than the one of the Texas. Join me on X, I'm fighting there, on Blue Sky, our community is growing, on Instagram, and threads, and of course we have an amazing Discord community. Check our merch shop, the link is in the description of this video, for lots of good products that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and we need that right now. And I'm very grateful whenever you show your support to Ukraine, join the rallies, I don't know, put the flag. It is very important and it actually works. I want to thank people of the United States who right now support our country despite this tremendously different attitude in the White House, which resembles the attitude of the Kremlin. And thank you so much for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. And to those of you who are worried, don't be afraid. You have Ukraine. We know a lot of things. We have broken a lot of bad plans of elderly dictators or wannabe dictators. Trust in Ukraine, support Ukraine, and the evil will be defeated. Slava Ukraini!